大家好，我是 Olive Branch 的 Alan. So you might be thinking that you want to get into shape, that you really want to build muscle and lose fat. And the question is, can you do that at the same time, concurrently? You want to think about this as a matrix, a 2x2, where one column is gaining muscle, the second column is losing muscle. And on the first row is gaining fat, the second row is losing fat. So in the very first top column and the top row, you have gaining muscle and gaining fat. Well, that's just simply bulking up, and that's anabolism. You're just eating a lot and you're working out hard. So you're going to be gaining both muscle and fat at the same time. If you move one column over, you're going to be losing muscle and gaining fat. Well, that's just aging. So we're all experiencing that as we speak, and that's city living, in fact. Eating a lot of junk food and not really working out because we're all too stressed out and lazy. So that's actually you losing muscle while you're gaining fat. And then if we go one row down, which is now losing fat and losing muscle, that quadrant means that you're just starving yourself. You're not eating anything, you're not exercising, so you're losing both muscle and losing fat. Now the secret quadrant, the one that is for health and vitality, is gaining muscle and losing fat. So this is the magic column or quadrant, and the question is whether you can do that simultaneously. The short answer is yes, you can, but this is the hardest one to do. The reason why is because you're actually both doing anabolism and catabolism at the same time. So you're trying to tell your body, I need to grow and break down at the same time. And that's kind of confusing for the body. The body normally either grows, anabolism, or it just breaks down, catabolism, which is starvation. But we're kind of doing both at the same time. And so this is a tricky balance. And the way to do that, the secret is to maintain muscle mass. In fact, to gain muscle mass, you have to really focus on strength training. That is, by definition, what that training is for, gaining strength. So you have to build muscle by pushing the body really hard so that the body understands that the muscle is very important for your survival. Right? Your body is very simple. It thinks in evolutionary biology terms. So if you're working the body hard, then the body realizes that the muscle is extremely important, so it'll retain it. And if you work hard enough and you eat the right proteins, it'll continue to grow. At the same time, if you're trying to lose fat, then your diet actually has to be very well controlled so that you're actually burning body fat and you're not adding to the fat by what you eat. So your calorie count might have to start to reduce depending on how much you've already started eating. And also the type of food has to be higher quality. So lots of high quality protein to fuel the muscles so that you don't start breaking down muscles as you lower your calories. But also at the same time, you really want to stay away from carbohydrates, refined carbohydrates, and any sugars, simple sugars like table sugar, fructose, glucose. We talked about this in a previous video. And any bad oils, any junk food, processed foods, you really have to start to get that out of your system immediately if you want this golden quadrant. So in other words, guys, your diet has to be very strict, and your workout regimen has to be very strict for this to work. So I know there are a couple of misconceptions out there that maybe needs to be addressed. The idea of calorie counting or having a calorie surplus for you to gain muscle, but then that is counter to trying to lose fat. And the other misconception about having to eat carbs to grow muscles, but then again, how do you lose fat if you're going to be eating carbs? Yeah, these are misconceptions because you can still grow muscles without carbohydrates. It is true that if you do have carbohydrates, your workouts will be more powerful because it is more of a glycolytic metabolic system when you're doing weight training, is that you're using a lot of stored glucose in your muscles to push hard for resistance training. But you don't have to. So your performance in the gym, although won't be lifting as heavy, as long as you're pushing yourself to the maximum, in other words, high intensity, then your body will still get the stimulus to grow muscle. You don't have to eat carbs. It's just by having carbs, you will be able to lift heavier and you'll grow muscles faster. But you can still grow muscles without it. Okay? Thereby, you can still have a low carb or zero carb diet so that you can continue to burn fat. The whole calorie counting, I've done this in a previous video. It's a pretty flawed system, guys. So I don't think it has any relevance to what we're talking about here in this video. Calorie counting, it doesn't make sense in this model, and it shouldn't be something that you should be focusing on if this is your goal, is to gain muscle and to lose fat. Like, how are you going to do that? How are you going to Should you have a calorie surplus or a deficit if you're going to lose fat? It's a bit of a contradiction, which is why I refer you back to my older video about why calorie counting is not a good system to base your health on. That's it, guys. I hope you found that useful. As always, please leave me any questions or comments below, and I'll see you next time.